And we are
We're here.
live again, James.
Yes, sir. It's
It is December what?
the 8th,
The 8th.
2022, last month of this year.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to jump into something real quick that's not on script.
Okay. You're allowed.
We used to give a shout out to the birthday people. And I
Yes.
know there's a lot of folks born in November and a lot were born in December, especially in my family. There's at least 3.
Okay.
So we want to say happy birthday to all those folks born in the months, let's say as of November and December. I hope we didn't miss September also, but in October. But nonetheless, if you had a birthday this year, which everybody should have, we say happy birthday to you. But a
Yes.
special shout out to our December babies.
Yeah. Yep. Happy birthday. Actually, Tommy had a birthday on the 24th
Okay.
of Thanksgiving Day, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
so that's one of our
brothers.
team
Yeah,
members.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're 18 months apart.
Yeah, that's so much alike. My brother and I are 18 months apart.
Wow.
Yeah, to the day also. So
Okay.
I don't know how you plan that.
I don't know how to plan either. Oh, wow.
But anyway, we say welcome aboard to our broadcast. We would like for you, if you're on Facebook, to like the page and share it with your friends. Definitely share it, especially today. We'll talk about that subject in just a second.
Just a minute.
Yeah, but if you're on YouTube, we want you to subscribe to our channel and share, as well as click that button, the bell, so you will get notifications when we are live again. So please work with us, help us out, and share this broadcast with your friends, neighbors, family members, and we'll all learn together here.
Yes.
Or experience some things together.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have an interesting topic.
Very interesting topic.
It's centered around anger, but we put a little spin on that, and we're saying the angry parent phenomenon.
Yes.
The angry parent phenomenon. So, without further ado, Dr. Glenn, let's unpack that title first. Maybe we can.
Well, James, when we put together our curriculum, purposely, intentionally, we put this particular class right in the middle.
Okay.
14 years ago,
right
in the middle of the curriculum, because a lot of people, our guys deal with anger. So we talk about anger as, and we get into that a little more. But anger can be, anger is really a God-given emotion. It's God gave us anger. I mean, He gave us like He did joy, like He did peace. Anger is a God-given emotion. It ain't, but like anything else, like electricity, it can warm you up, give you life, or it can kill you.
Yes.
Depending on how you use it.
Right.
Anger the same way. Anger can motivate people, and has to motivate people to do certain things. I mean, if you're angry about something injustice, what do people do? They demonstrate their anger about injustice. They protest. Now that anger goes too far when they start to burn down buildings and hurt people and destroy property.
Right.
That's anger too far. But the fact that you are standing up for somebody's rights of injustice, and we're going to protest because our anger has motivated us to get out and make this right. And so anger is a good thing, or it could be a bad thing.
Right.
And so again, depending on how you manage it. That's why, for years I used to teach anger management classes. And it was for give people tools on how to deal with your anger. Because if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways that you don't, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so we have a handout that we use.
Yes.
And the first thing on our handout is saying, what is anger?
Yes.
What is anger? And if we can get some buy-in from our audience, could you all let us know what you think anger is? And just put your comments in the chat.
Yes.
And we'll certainly entertain them.
Yeah.
But we want to hear from you.
Yes.
You know, what is anger? And whether it be used for a good purpose or bad purpose. If you want to elaborate more, please do that.
Yeah. Please do that. Yeah. So in the meantime, I think we're going to commercial work, not commercial work. Okay.
All right. And just about 60 more seconds.
Okay.
We'll do that.
So while you're thinking about that, before we go to commercial, think about what is anger and how it affects, you, and what do you do when you get angry? What do you do when when people, push your buttons and Jay, we talk about it's one of the quotes. I love quotes, and I live by quotes.
Let's hear it.
It's when we overreact to a problem, we now have two problems.
Right.
The one that we overreacted to, and one we just created in our overreaction.
Right.
And a lot of times it's our anger that causes us to overreact.
Stir that
thing up. And what problem would, if it was a problem, yes, but you have overreacted because of your anger. Now you have created another problem that doesn't make that other problem go away.
Right.
So now you got two major problems.
Right.
The one that you overreacted to, and the one you just created.
And they still have to be done.
But now you got two of them. And a lot of times, for example, somebody do something to you that's wrong, and you assault them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you still got to do the fact that they did something with you was wrong, but now you got an assault charge.
Right.
What if they? We tell guys all the time, a guy steals back your cigarette. That's wrong. Yes. But now you assault him. So now your overreaction to that. Now you get put out of the house.
Right.
And now you're homeless. But you still got the fact your cigarettes are still gone.
Yeah. Gone.
So now that guy shouldn't have stole your cigarette. Absolutely right.
Right.
But your reaction to that because of your anger has caused you another major problem.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to check with our broadcast, our production manager, and we got the thumbs up. So let's look at this quick message, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about what is anger.
Yes.
Executive Director of Fathers Forever. I want to share an alarming reality with you. 627,000 fathers are incarcerated that have kids under 18. Now, there are 56,000 moms incarcerated who have kids under 18. The reality is there are so many more fathers incarcerated than moms. This is why I Am a Father Forever book exists. Now, I need your help. I am inviting you to help us get this book into as many fathers incarcerated as possible. Here's how it works. For your donation of $22, we will provide a book to an incarcerated father. Thank you in advance for helping Fathers Forever heal fathers and save families.
And we're
back.
Yes.
So we're gonna start out with get back to that discussion, but we're gonna start out with a quote. I think I want to put it up on the screen.
The man with many quotes.
I love quotes.
The man with many colors. The coat with many colors. Dr. Glenn.
I got to work with this a little bit, but it says, and I got this from sitting in the courtroom in the child support court for many, many years, and watching parents go back and forth.
All right.
With the kids. It says, "It's no pleasure in watching indifferent people argue. It's even worse when they're trying to co-parent."
Wow.
I said it one time. It's no pleasure to watch indifferent people argue. It's even worse when they're trying to co-parent.
Right, because that's behind the scenes.
Well, yeah.
If you think about it, court is a public.
Right, exactly.
Public audience.
Yes. So not now because they are indifferent and they're trying to co-parent and they got this child in the middle.
Right.
And that's where it becomes very, very difficult. That's where not because the parent, the child now is put in the middle of the fight.
Right.
And that's why actually, James, I was inspired to write this book, When Love Is Not Enough, the breaking of a child, sitting in that courtroom.
Right.
And I'm watching countless cases come up of parents And the reason I got the title, When Love Is Not Enough, and all this is tied into anger.
Okay.
I'm trying to set the stage to get there.
Yeah.
So when I wrote the title, When Love Is Not Enough to Break In of a Child,
Right.
it's because both parents say they love their kids.
Right.
And I asked them, how you love your kids? Everybody raised their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the question.
Right.
Whether you love your child or not. The question is, your love for your child is not strong enough to put them in the middle of your fight.
Right.
That's why we come up with the other part, the breaking of a child.
Yeah.
So James, real quickly now, I don't know, being you from the country, different, you from Maryland, from North Carolina.
Right.
But we grew up kind of similar.
Yes.
Same era, same.
I experienced some of those country living
Yes,
moments.
yes. So y'all city folk, but I get that.
Yeah.
But my dad, my mom would send us to the woods to get a switch
Mm-hmm.
to discipline us when we were being bad.
Right.
And that was an art to get the switch, James.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't come back with a young tree, but you didn't come back with a little
twig.
Tree either, because my mom was a big woman and she wanted to get 2 or 3 licks.
Uh-huh.
And you don't want to get too many.
Right.
You want that switch to break.
Right.
After about the 3rd lick, that switch breaks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. So 2 things then I remember. Number 1, the switch always hurt because it brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
And number 2, the switch always broke.
Okay.
So the point is, when we put the kids in the middle of our fight,
correct.
When one parent uses the child to beat the other parent, it's going to hurt the other parent. That's number 1.
Yes.
And the child is the switch that's going to break.
Absolutely.
And that's the point that I want to. And most of the time, it's because of anger, unresolved anger that we have, and because of that, that creates the inability to co-parent.
Yes.
And that's where the anger comes in at, and that's where the child now becomes the switch that the parents use to beat each other.
Okay. So I originally said, what is anger?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a definition, and I'm sure there are other definitions. Again, for our viewers, if you want to comment, please.
This is Mr. Webster edition. Mr. Webster, the dictionary.
Okay, this is
I'm not saying I came up with it. I'm trying to patronize this is not mine. This is Mr. Webster's definition of anger.
All right. So anger is a normal emotion with a wide range of intensity, from mild irritation and frustration to rage. It is a reaction to a perceived threat to ourselves, our loved ones, our property, our self-image, or some part of our identity. Anger is a warning bell that tells us that something is wrong. And it goes on. It says anger exists in the mind and is a direct result of your thoughts. An event does not make you angry, but your interpretation of the event and how you think and feel can lead to anger. Certain things can be done to make the feelings of anger more controllable and manageable.
Right.
So
James, when people do stuff to us, there is a space between our actions and our response to our actions. When somebody does something to you, there's a space there,
right,
between, and in that space, you think how I'm going to react to this. If you got a space like this,
so you're ready to react.
You're going to react
as you hear something,
just like that. But your space is like this.
It
gives you time to process what happened to me
and to think,
and to think about the consequences of what I'm going to do, and before I go out and do something.
Correct. Yeah.
But anger is, and anger management helps you to widen that space.
Right.
So when somebody does do something to you, you have time. You just don't react. You respond. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting means that there's a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. I'm just going to.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Yes.
There's no thinking. You do something to me, I'm going to do something back to you. That's a reaction.
Okay.
Newton's law, where every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. A response means I have time to process what's happening to me and how I want to respond what happened to me.
Yes.
And that's where we have to be able to control our anger. And that's where anger management classes does work. Because it helps people broaden
that gap.
That gap
right.
will give you an opportunity to think about the consequences of what's going to happen to me if I do what I really want to do to you.
I think about a time when President Obama was doing the State of the Union address to Congress, and you got your and all that, and the man said, "You're a liar,"
Yes.
And this is prime time,
Yes,
and public,
yes,
and TV, millions saw that,
yes,
but he looked at that guy and just smiled and kept going.
yes.
But I think I would have liked to just step down for a minute
I just went down
and go down there
Now, James,
and do a few things and come on back and finish my speech.
Now to even bring it back home even more than that,
Mm-hmm.
just a few years, about a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
two well-known actors.
Oh, right.
That
was this year.
That was this year.
Yeah.
Was at their Grammy, whatever it was, and one guy jumped up and slapped the other guy. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But his reaction was, "Wow, he just slapped the."
Right.
Now he didn't. What he could have done.
He reached back and slapped.
Yes.
This guy.
What he could have done. We know we're talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah.
What Chris could have done. They could have had a brawl right there.
Right.
But he chose not to do that.
Yes.
He responded to it. He said something, but he chose not to get into a fist fight on national TV.
Right.
Now that was. I don't know if I could have done that.
That was some restraint.
That was some restraint.
He exercised a lot of restraint.
Yes. So how I respond to anger again. And before we really get into this part, anger is a God-given emotion.
Right.
God wouldn't give it to us if He didn't want us to have it.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is how do we control that,
right,
and make it something positive, as opposed to let it being destructive.
Right.
And that's where we have to, and general as a whole, but as later on we're going to talk about how that relates to our kids, how it makes us a good parent or an abusive parent.
Yeah. Well, we all know that you're just not just angry. There's some components of that.
Yes.
And one is the first component we're going to call a physical reaction. Then there's a second component of it, which is a cognitive experience. And then the third one is the component is the behavior.
Yes.
And each of those are steps before or involved with what we're dealing with when we're talking about anger.
Yes.
So physical reaction, your eyes might bulge and veins popping out your head.
Yes, if you're lighter skinned,
you turn red.
A lot of black folks, they can't see the redness.
Right.
But when they see our eyes get big, our nose get big. Right. This guy's angry. There is a physical reaction to this emotion we call anger.
Absolutely. And then when we talk about the cognitive, it's what's going on in the side of our head at that point.
Yes.
Do I want to kick him or do I want to shoot him? You're just thinking all kinds of stuff.
Right. What's going on through my mind and how am I going to respond to this? Whether it's perceived threat or whether it is a threat. Mm-hmm. And our mind is, we think about how am I going to respond to this thing that happens to me?
And then our last thing, like I said, is behavior.
Yes.
Do I go and clock him or do I take a step back and just respond in a non-physical way? But that's behavior.
Yes.
Behavior. Yes. And every time, all three of those components make up what anger is and how it
relates to you. And what do you do with it? Mm-hmm. So what do you do with that? Those three things. Again, you can, galvanize. If there is a political issue, if there is something that's going wrong, there's injustice, if there is something that the people want to fight for, they come together and they strategize to march, they strategize to go down to the whatever it is, and everybody get together because we want this injustice to be undone.
Right.
We want this law to change. What takes over is people anger. And
so that space, all of those things probably not going to happen when that space is here.
Right.
But if it's like this, then you have time to do those.
You have time to do them. You have time to come up with a strategy and implement it. But even in that, sometimes, James, other people who don't have the same motive you do.
Uh-huh.
So organizers of this riot, organizers of this protest may not be the ones that's really causing the riot. It's the other people who's really angry
Right.
and they haven't found out a way to, So it goes from a protest to a riot,
Right.
and where people die,
Property is
damaged, and that stuff is counterproductive,
right?
Because you kind of defeat the purpose.
Right.
But some people push back on that and say, you know what, we've been doing peaceful protests for a long time. They ain't hearing us.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to burn down some buildings.
Yeah.
So there's been some general pushback on that, and people do stuff because of the anger. They're fed up with whatever it is that they're fed up with.
So what about families? How is this anger a detriment at times
to
a family?
Yes, which is what we're going to home into now. The last few minutes we got of this is how do parents co-parent when they are hurting one another. Sometimes the person that hurts you the most is the person that you love the most.
Yes.
Whether it be a former spouse, or a loved one, or a relationship one, the mother of your kids, the father of your kids. Now you get these kids together and you've hurt one another.
Right.
You damage one another and you go back and forth. And that anger now comes to play out over abusive to our kids, and we become really indifferent. And one of the stories I talk about, James, is I call it the blinders of indifference.
Okay.
And it's because indifference have blinders on. One of the quotes that I'm not gonna quote it. What they were saying. I didn't come up with this quote, but they said the opposite of hate is not love. The opposite of hate is indifference.
Okay.
Yeah,
break that down.
I didn't come up with that one. That's another one.
Well, help us to get
the opposite of love is not hate, but it said it's indifference. In fact, it's in one of these. Look at the blindness of indifference.
Okay.
And you can read that whole quote.
Okay.
Because the opposite of love, he said, is not hate, but indifference. Indifference means a lack of empathy. A lack of understanding.
Okay.
It means that I don't hate you, but my indifference to you is so. I don't really care about you. I have really no feelings about you, and so that quote that says by Eli Witz, the opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness; it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not hearsay; it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death; it's indifference.
Wow. Okay.
So indifference is a very powerful word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was saying again, this is not mine. This is Eli Weed, I think it is. Indifference is a lack of feeling, interest, or concern for another. It's an emotional detachment. The opposite of the absence of the capacity to feel for another person. And sometimes indifference comes from our unresolved anger. And it's sitting right there.
And so you got two parents who they raising a child and they love their child, but they hate each other. They're angry with each other.
They don't even hate each other. That's the difference. It's more powerful than hate.
Right. It's not a caring. I'm not a caring person at all.
Exactly. So I can love somebody, but when it comes out to her, when you mention her name, or when you mention his name, you see the expression of, you see all three of those components. Right. The eyes get big.
Cognitive and behavior.
Yes. Yeah. And consequently, our kids now is put in the middle of this fight. And the kids, that's why I said it gets even worse when you're trying to co-parent.
Right.
Because now the kids is put in the middle. So what I come up with is called the blinders of indifference. Again, I'm from the country, and I gotta wrap this up real quick.
All right.
But you put blinders on horses,
right,
to keep them from seeing what they have the ability to see.
Right.
So you don't want them to see to the right, to the left.
Yep.
You want the horse to go straight down. I'm a country boy again, and we had a mule, and we want him to stay on that road focused.
Yeah, because
we don't want him
plowing.
to see. You're plowing.
You're plowing your garden.
Yeah. So you want him to be, focused. So you put blinders on
straight ahead
to keep him from seeing what he have the ability to see, which is over here, over there.
Right.
For a purpose. when people in life walk on with blinders on,
Mhm.
it keeps them from seeing what they have the ability to see,
Right.
which is the other person's pain,
Right.
or the other person's point of view,
Mhm.
or the other person's opinion. You can't see that because you have the blinders of indifference.
Wow, that's powerful. That's
We,
so
we can
powerful.
take up the offer to go home now,
I
right?
know we could.
We can.
Yeah.
You cannot see the other person. That's why it's called. You have no sympathy to it
Mhm.
because and people indifference walk in that vein.
Right.
They don't see what they have the ability to see. All they see is their pain
Mhm.
and their frustration.
Right.
And so now you're trying to raise your kids walking around with the blinders on.
Mhm.
And two adults trying to do that is next to impossible
Right.
to be a good father, a good mom.
Right.
Because you're always gonna put the kids in the middle of your fight.
And the sad part is it's about me.
It's about me.
The parent is saying it.
Yes.
All of this, it's about me.
Yes.
And I need to be heard. But what about the little daughter,
Yes.
little son?
Yes, yes.
What about that person's
that part?
needs?
Yes.
And that's where we fail a lot. We need to keep our kids. We need to take care of them, give them our best.
Right.
You know,
And another quote I'm going to read real quick, James.
Okay.
And it talks about another point, which we're going to maybe get to next week.
All right.
And we're going to talk about this. That says, anger cannot be managed without the ways of forgiveness.
There you go. So that
anger
means
cannot be managed without the ways of forgiveness.
So that means it's a connection.
It's a connection, and one of the reasons why we all got this pent up anger is because we haven't found out how to forgive. And that anger is there. It's that anger that keeps you from thinking about.
What if somebody says to you, Doctor, don't be preaching to me, but these are principles.
These are principles. I didn't come up with this stuff.
Right. And these are things that we have to have in order to function.
Yes.
At a high level, because right now, we're bringing ourselves down into the gutter, so to speak.
Yes.
When we spew that anger out.
Yes. And we talk about in life in general, we haven't really got down to how it affects our kids.
Right.
And that's kind of how we wanted to do this. But we had to, when you talk about anger, and it's so much about this, and so we haven't really drilled down.
We want to keep unpacking.
And we might do another section next week where we even drill it down even further how it affects our kids.
All right. Well, I think we
know
might as well say it now.
Right.
A part two.
Part two is going to come. And again, it's going to be part two of this about the angry parents. I might change that word from parent to parents.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, because it is a combination. And a lot of times, and people have a right to be angry. People have a right to be. Again, this is a God-given emotion.
Yeah,
so how do we manage that?
Right.
And make it for our good instead of our destruction.
Yeah, because injustice has always affected someone.
Yes.
The poor, the middle class, the rich. Yes. There's just been injustice.
Yes.
There's no shortage of it.
There's no shortage. No, it's not.
And we have to be able to navigate through those things when it does occur.
Yeah, James, we're going through some things right now dealing with another agency that is completely. I don't want to get into the details, but we want to go out and just repent to people because it's like this injustice, this discrimination.
Mm-hmm. But
we got to come up with a strategy to help fix this because your anger is right to be angry. Nobody's saying we shouldn't be angry, and I want to get that point across. Anger is not a bad thing if it's done correctly. If it's done incorrectly,
as the young people say, facts.
Right. Yeah.
So what we'll do then is continue to delve into what is anger and then how it's affecting a family.
Yes.
We'll make this a part 2 for next week.
And it might be a part 3.
I'm sure. Because it's a subject that we seem to not be able to exhaust.
Because it's so much in there and there's so much we can learn from.
Yeah.
There's so much we can change our lives by not operating out of the spirit of anger.
Right. Well, we're going to say
adios.
Definitely Yeah, definitely tune in for next week.
Yes.
And join us for this next broadcast. We want to talk to you about your comments and please leave some.
Yes.
And we look forward to picking up where we left off.
Great.
With angry
the
parents. We're going to put an S on it. The angry parents phenomenon, and those who are dealing with anger also.
Yes.
So until next week, we'll see you at our broadcast time of 8 o'clock on Thursday, and we thank you.
All right. Take care.